The first explosion hit without warning. Stars fractured as if the galaxy itself shuddered, and Merrick Tan's heart skipped a beat. He gripped the edge of the command console aboard the USS Resolute, his knuckles white. A nearby colony world was being shredded in seconds. Gigantic beams of blue energy tore through orbital defenses, leaving nothing but smoke and fire. Marek's crew scrambled, faces pale in the dim glow of alert lights. Shields at maximum. Evasive patterns delta. Merrick barked. His voice was calm but carried the weight of command. Every second mattered. The alien fleet, the Zytherian armada, moved with terrifying precision. Their ships were enormous, dark silhouettes that dwarfed the human warship. Merrick could see the hum of energy shields and the deadly shimmer of their weapons. "Captain, we're reading something else," his science officer Lyra Voss said. Her voice trembled barely above the alarms. A fast-moving energy anomaly. It's weaving through the blast fields, heading straight for us." Merrick leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Could it be a drone? An attack vector? He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down, knowing every command could cost lives. "Bring it up on the main view." The anomaly appeared on the holographic display as a twisting, silver-blue form. It moved almost like a living creature, writhing through the chaos, passing through lasers and debris as if it didn't obey the laws of physics. Crew members murmured in awe and fear. "It's alive," Lyra whispered. Marek's jaw tightened. He didn't have time to ponder what it meant, but instinct told him this anomaly was not an enemy. The Zytherian dreadnought in front of them shifted course suddenly, slowing for the first time Merrick had ever seen. Its massive guns paused, hovering like a predator deciding whether to strike. Marek's heart thudded. Something about the human ship, or the anomaly, had caught their attention. "Divert all power to forward shields. Prepare to engage," he ordered. The Resolute shuddered as its engines strained, weaving between burning debris. Sparks flew along the hull as fragments of destroyed satellites slammed against it. Every move was life or death. "Captain, incoming fire," the weapons officer shouted. Beams sliced past the ship, narrowly missing. Merrick shouted a quick command sequence, twisting the ship into a dangerous barrel roll. The human vessel was small compared to the dreadnoughts, but it moved like a dart, unpredictable and alive. Lyra pointed at the anomaly again. It's circling us now. Almost like it's guiding our maneuvers." Marek's eyes widened. He hadn't seen anything like it in decades of service. His mind raced. Was it intelligent? Benevolent? Or a trap? Suddenly, one of the Zytherian ships fired a massive pulse directly at the anomaly. The silver-blue form shimmered, splitting into fragments of light, then reassembled, passing harmlessly through the attack. The human crew gasped. Merrick felt a strange thrill, hope against impossible odds. "Ready for counterattack," he said, more to steady himself than anyone else. The Resolute's weapons powered up, tiny compared to the alien dreadnoughts but precise. Merrick guided a concentrated strike at a weak point on the nearest enemy cruiser. The beam hit, causing a violent chain reaction. The alien ship groaned, sparks cascading across its hull, then exploded. For a heartbeat, the crew cheered, hearts racing with victory that felt almost impossible. But Merrick didn't allow himself to smile. He knew this was just a momentary reprieve. The Zytherian fleet paused, watching, almost studying. And then the micro-cliffhanger. A signal appeared across all comms channels, untranslatable, yet unmistakably directed at the humans. The message repeated once, then again, a single line of alien glyphs flashing. "You are not like the others, yet you defy." Marek's chest tightened. He stared at the display, his mind a storm of questions. Who were these aliens? Why did they hesitate? And what did the anomaly want with them? "Captain," Lyra said, her voice barely steady, "it's moving again, towards the flagship. It wants us to follow." Marek's eyes narrowed, resolve hardening. "Then that's exactly what we'll do. Full thrust, follow it. And stay sharp. Nothing about this is normal." The Resolute shot forward, weaving between debris past exploding satellites, heading straight for the heart of the enemy fleet. Behind them, the Zytherian ships hesitated, massive shadows in the void, guns still trained but silent. The anomaly flickered ahead like a beacon, urging the humans onward. Merrick swallowed hard, his heart pounding, but he didn't flinch. Humanity was small here, fragile against the might of the galaxy's deadliest conquerors. Yet here they were, defiant. And whatever this anomaly was, it had chosen to engage, not as predator but as guide. The silence of the fleet was almost worse than the battle. Merrick gritted his teeth. One wrong move and Resolute would be vaporized. And yet, the pull of the unknown called them forward. Questions burned hotter than lasers. Why us? What is that thing? And can we survive what comes next? The anomaly flashed once more, brighter than before, and then dived straight into the enemy formation. Merrick had no choice. He followed. The Resolute darted through the heart of the Zytherian fleet, engines screaming, shields flaring with every near miss. Marek's hands moved over the console with precision, issuing orders faster than most could process. Each movement of the ship was a gamble, but every gamble carried purpose. His crew followed with absolute trust, the quiet determination of humans against a force that had flattened worlds with ease. Incoming volleys from all sides, shouted the weapons officer, Rian Voss. Red blips streaked across the tactical display. We can't dodge them all. Merrick didn't flinch. Prioritize survival and weak points. Fire only when we have a shot that counts. He glanced at Lyra, who was monitoring the anomaly. Keep tracking it. It's still moving toward the flagship. The anomaly, silver blue and fluid, danced between Zytherian dreadnoughts like a spark of light through darkness. Merrick felt a strange reassurance from it, as if it were silently urging him forward. He didn't understand it, but instinct told him to trust it. Suddenly, one of the smaller alien cruisers veered sharply, aiming directly at the human ship. Direct hit incoming. Rian yelled. Marek's fingers flew across the controls. With a sharp twist, the Resolute banked sideways, letting the energy beam strike empty space. Sparks from nearby debris rained down along the hull, scraping but not crippling them. We can't keep running forever, Merrick muttered. His voice was low but determined. We have to fight smart, not just survive. He tapped a sequence into the tactical console, aligning the ship for a high-risk counterattack. Target their support nodes, aim for the power conduits. Hit one and we disrupt the formation. Rian's eyes widened. Those are heavily armored. A direct hit could destroy us before we even get close. Marek's jaw tightened. Then we hit at speed. Precision is everything. Trust the crew and trust me. The human vessel darted like a needle, slipping between enemy fire. Energy beams sliced past, grazing the hull and leaving deep scorches. Every move was a calculated risk. The Zytherian ships were relentless, but the humans' unpredictability began to unnerve them. These conquerors were used to obedience, to fear, but not defiance. The anomaly moved again, weaving ahead, leading them toward a cluster of massive dreadnoughts. Marek's mind raced. Following it was dangerous, almost suicidal, but it might be the only chance to exploit a weakness. Helm full thrusters. Weapons ready, Merrick ordered. And everyone brace. This is going to get rough. The Resolute accelerated into the enemy formation, dodging a barrage of pulses from the dreadnoughts. Merrick watched the tactical display, noting each weak point as he maneuvered. Fire now, he shouted. Concentrated beams of energy struck one ship's main power conduit. Sparks erupted and the massive vessel lurched, its shields flickering. The Zytherian crew scrambled, unaccustomed to such precision. A cheer broke out from the human crew, small but precious. Even in the face of near-certain death, they had achieved something. Merrick allowed himself a brief smile, though he knew the danger was far from over. Captain? Lyra's voice cut sharply. Sensors detect multiple anomalies, like the first one, moving within the enemy fleet. They're responding to our attacks. Marek's eyes narrowed. Responding? How? Impossible to say, Lyra admitted. But it's almost like they're coordinating. They move strategically, almost anticipating our maneuvers. Marek's heart pounded. Humans, small and fragile, were surviving against gods of war, because they were clever, adaptable, and willing to risk everything. Yet the anomaly's presence was the real puzzle. Was it helping, or testing them? A massive pulse hit the Resolute's shields. Sparks cascaded across the bridge as alarms blared. Merrick gritted his teeth. Damage report. Minor hull breaches in sectors 3 and 4, Rian said. Shields holding at 80%. We're still alive. Good. Now use that advantage. I want all firepower on that crippled cruiser. Make it count. Marek's voice was calm, but inside, adrenaline surged. Every decision here could cost lives, yet his resolve never wavered. Humanity's courage had to shine, not just survive, but fight smart and inspire hope. The beam struck the cruiser again. A violent explosion rocked the ship, sending fragments tumbling through space. The human crew cheered, not for glory, but because they had proven, even for a moment, that they could stand against impossible odds. But there was no time to revel. The Zytherian dreadnoughts began forming a defensive perimeter, more coordinated than before. Merrick knew the anomaly was leading them to something. He could feel it in the tension, in the careful patterns of enemy movement. Then a massive Zytherian battleship warped into the center of the formation, colossal and bristling with weapons. It moved as if aware of the humans' every tactic, a predator sensing defiance. And across all communication channels the same alien message flashed again: "You are not like the others, yet you defy." Marek's jaw tightened. His crew glanced at him, fear and determination in their eyes. He didn't flinch. "Hold steady. Whatever this is, we finish the maneuver. Follow the anomaly. And pray it's leading us to more than death." The Resolute surged forward, weaving between deadly beams, the anomaly dancing just ahead like a guiding light. The galaxy's most feared conquerors paused in near silence, as if considering the audacity of this tiny human ship. Marek's heart pounded not just from danger but from a growing, impossible hope. Maybe humans weren't just surviving, they were shaping the battle itself. And somewhere in the void ahead, the anomaly pulsed brighter, signaling a path straight toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Marek leaned forward. "We follow. No turning back." The Resolute surged through the broken remnants of the Zytherian fleet, sparks and debris streaking past like deadly fireworks. Merrick Tan's hands moved with precise, practiced efficiency across the controls, but his mind was racing faster than the ship. The anomaly pulsed ahead, silver blue light weaving like a living arrow pointing straight toward the enemy flagship. Every instinct told him to trust it, though he had no idea why it was helping, or what it wanted in return. "Captain," Lyra said, her voice tight with excitement, "I think I've found something. The flagship's hull, it's connected to the others through a network. Almost like a hive. Damage one node and the entire formation falters." Merrick froze for a heartbeat. A neural hive? That explains their coordination. That explains why they paused earlier. They're linked. And if we can disrupt the network? His voice trailed, a dangerous spark of possibility lighting his eyes. "We can take the whole fleet apart?" Rian asked, disbelief in his tone. Merrick shook his head slowly. "We might. But it's risky. We get one shot at this." The Resolute twisted sharply, weaving past energy beams that could disintegrate the ship. The anomaly darted ahead, flickering like a living beacon. Marek's gut told him it was guiding them, to the flagship, to the hive node. And somehow he trusted it. "Divert all power to engines and shields," Merrick ordered. "We go in fast, precise and clean. No hesitation." As they approached, the flagship loomed, massive, bristling with weapons that could vaporize a planet. Its hull shimmered under a protective field, energy crackling like lightning. The Zytherian fleet closed in around it, instinctively protecting the nerve center. Every move by the humans was calculated, every second counted. "Captain," Lyra said, her voice tight, "the anomaly, it's inside the flagship. I can't explain it, but it's interacting with their systems. Almost tampering with them." Marek's brow furrowed. "It's helping us." "But why?" Lyra whispered. "Why risk itself?" Before Merrick could answer, the flagship's sensors lit up, massive beams pivoting toward the Resolute. Red alarms blared. "Direct fire incoming." Rian shouted. Marek's fingers flew across the controls. "Full evasive. Trust the anomaly." The ship twisted violently, narrowly avoiding a massive pulse that tore apart a nearby cruiser. Sparks cascaded down the hull, and a section of the outer shield flared dangerously. Then the anomaly appeared before them, moving fluidly through the enemy fire. It pulsed brightly, striking a massive conduit on the flagship. Systems flickered, and a ripple of chaos spread through the fleet. Shields faltered, weapon systems misfired, and the tightly coordinated formation began to wobble. Marek's eyes widened. "It's working. Rian, fire now." The Resolute's weapons focused precisely on the newly exposed weak point. Beams struck, and the flagship groaned as energy exploded from its hull. Smaller ships were thrown off course, their formations collapsing. The humans' small, precise attack had begun to topple the unstoppable. The crew cheered, but Marek's eyes never left the anomaly. It pulsed one last time and then disappeared into the flagship's hull. Lyra's jaw dropped. It went inside? Marek's chest tightened. He felt a mix of awe and fear. Whatever that creature was, it had changed the battle. Humans alone could not have achieved this, yet Marek's leadership, his decisions, and the crew's courage had given them a chance. They had turned the impossible into the possible. Suddenly the flagship shuddered violently. Merrick grabbed the console as systems across the fleet flickered. The Zytherian commanders erupted in comms chaos, their coordinated hive faltering for the first time. "They're panicking," Rian muttered. "The hive is destabilized." Merrick felt a surge of determination. "We keep pushing. One more strike and we can force them to retreat." He calculated a precise trajectory, weaving between debris and enemy fire. Every movement was tense, every command weighted with lives and consequences. The humans were small against gods of war, but they were clever, adaptable, and brave. They were shining. Then a pattern interrupt jolted the crew. The flagship suddenly released a pulse of energy that sent fragments of the fleet spinning. The anomaly had not only disrupted the systems, it had created a hidden, invisible pathway inside the flagship. Merrick realized with a cold thrill that the human ship could exploit it. "Hold tight," he shouted. "We go in, through the gap." Engines screamed as the Resolute plunged into the flagship's chaotic interior. Energy arcs crackled dangerously close. The hull shook violently, but Merrick kept his hand steady, guiding the ship with razor precision. Sparks flew, panels groaned, and alarms screamed, but the humans moved faster than the enemy could react. Inside, the anomaly reappeared for a fraction of a second, guiding the Resolute through deadly corridors of energy and fire. Merrick realized it wasn't just helping, they were working together, human ingenuity and alien intelligence in a brief, extraordinary partnership. Then came the micro-cliffhanger. A massive core room emerged ahead, the heart of the hive. The neural node pulsed, massive energy radiating in every direction. Marek's heart pounded. One wrong move and the Resolute would be torn apart. But if he succeeded, the entire fleet could collapse. "Captain," Lyra whispered, awe and fear in her voice, "this is it. Everything depends on this strike." Marek's jaw tightened. He stared at the pulsing core, every instinct screaming danger, but he didn't hesitate. "We finish this. Humanity stands. Follow me." The Resolute surged forward, engines blazing, heading straight into the heart of the enemy flagship, guided by the mysterious anomaly and the unbreakable courage of a human crew facing impossible odds. And somewhere deep within the flagship, unseen by the human eyes, the first cracks of the hive began to widen. Small, almost imperceptible, but enough to change everything. The Resolute shuddered violently as it dove through the heart of the enemy flagship. Energy arcs danced across the walls like lightning, and the hull groaned under stress, yet Merrick Tan didn't hesitate. Every decision now carried the weight of life, death, and the fate of countless worlds. The neural hive was destabilized, but the flagship's core pulsed with raw power, enough to wipe the human ship from existence in a single instant. "Shields holding, barely," Rian shouted, sweat streaking his face. Sparks rained down from exposed panels, igniting small fires across the bridge. Marek's jaw tightened. "Hold steady. We're not here to survive, we're here to finish this." Lyra's voice broke through the chaos. "Captain, sensors detect reinforcements warping in. The rest of their fleet is regrouping." Marek's eyes narrowed. The odds were staggering. The Resolute was a single human vessel, tiny compared to the Zytherian dreadnoughts, yet here they were, deep inside the flagship, racing toward its neural core. He felt a surge of determination. Humanity might be small, fragile, and outmatched, but courage, intelligence, and sheer will made them extraordinary. "Target the core," Merrick shouted. "Rian, focus every beam on the main nexus node. Lyra, guide us through the energy fields. We cannot fail." The ship weaved through violent arcs of energy, dodging pulsing beams from the flagship's internal defense systems. Sparks and shrapnel flew as smaller bursts erupted around them. The crew moved like a single organism, every action precise and calculated. Merrick felt his heart pound, not from fear but from the thrill of defying the impossible. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy ripped through the hull. Panels exploded and alarms screamed. Marek's hands flew across the controls, stabilizing the ship. "Brace," he shouted. The Resolute lurched violently, but its momentum carried them forward. The anomaly reappeared, flashing in silver-blue brilliance. It moved like a living guide, leading them past cascading energy arcs. Marek's chest tightened with awe. It wasn't just a creature, it was a partner, a silent force helping humans survive where raw strength could not. "Almost there," Lyra gasped. "Core is exposed." Merrick gritted his teeth. Every second counted. He calculated the trajectory, dodged another volley of pulses, and locked the ship into position. "All weapons, fire." Beams struck the Nexus node with deadly precision. The room shook violently as energy exploded outward. The core groaned, metal twisting and bending under the strain. Sparks erupted like fireworks as the neural hive began to collapse. Smaller dreadnoughts staggered, their connections severed. The fleet faltered, uncoordinated for the first time. A cheer erupted from the crew, brief but fierce. Merrick allowed himself a glance at their faces. Fear, determination, and awe mingled in equal measure. Humans had survived against impossible odds, striking a blow no one thought they could. But the battle was far from over. Incoming! Rian shouted. A massive energy beam lanced toward the Resolute, far larger than anything they had faced. It would tear the ship apart. Marek's eyes narrowed. Now or never. He pushed the engines to maximum, weaving through the beam with impossible agility. Sparks scorched the hull as the blast grazed them, but the human ship survived. The anomaly pulsed once more, flickering in the blast's wake, then disappeared again. Merrick swallowed hard, realizing it had saved them. "Captain, we've done it," Lyra said, awe in her voice. "The hive, it's breaking apart. The fleet." Merrick nodded, but his mind raced. The flagship's collapse would send shockwaves through the enemy armada, but reinforcements were incoming. He didn't have time to savor victory. "All hands, prepare for retreat. We've bought time, but the fight isn't over." Suddenly the floor shook violently. The core, destabilized by their strike, began to implode. Energy arcs ripped through the corridors and fire erupted in waves. Merrick barked orders, guiding the ship through twisting passages as systems failed around them. Crew members risked themselves, manually rerouting power and repairing shields in moments that could mean death. Humanity's ingenuity and courage shone in every action. Then a micro cliffhanger. The anomaly appeared once more, this time inside the ship's visual sensors, flashing brightly. Its movements were urgent, almost frantic, pointing toward an escape corridor Merrick hadn't noticed. "Follow it," he shouted. The crew responded instantly, hearts pounding, moving through the collapsing interior. The flagship convulsed, energy surging in unpredictable bursts. Merrick guided the Resolute through the chaos, the ship scraping past walls, dodging deadly arcs, and finally bursting through the exit just as the core detonated behind them. The explosion illuminated the void, massive energy arcs tearing through the fleet. Small dreadnoughts faltered, the Zytherian fleet thrown into disarray. The crew cheered again, relief flooding their faces, but Marek's mind was already moving ahead. The anomaly had vanished, leaving questions burning hotter than the fires behind them. Was it an ally? An experiment? Or something far stranger? Through the chaos, a new signal appeared on the comms. Alien glyphs blinking once then again. This was only a test. The real trial begins. Marek's heart tightened. They had survived, they had struck a blow, but the message made it clear. The galaxy's challenges were far from over. His chest swelled with pride for his crew, for human courage, for their defiance, but fear lingered too. He looked out at the stars, the broken fleet, the distant smoke of destroyed dreadnoughts. Humanity had stood tall where no one expected them to. They had turned near certain death into a victory. And yet, the future loomed larger, darker, and more dangerous than anything they had faced. "Prepare for jump," Merrick said, his voice steady, eyes burning with determination. "We've proven what humans can do. But this is just the beginning. Stay sharp, there's more coming." As the Resolute slipped into warp, the remains of the Zytherian fleet slowly reassembled. And somewhere, far beyond the edges of known space, something watched. Something bigger than dreadnoughts. Something ancient. Marek's jaw tightened. Humanity had fought gods of war and survived. But the galaxy had only begun testing them. The Resolute drifted in the silent void beyond the shattered Zytherian fleet. Sparks flickered along its hull, shields still flickering, and the crew moved in tense exhaustion, faces pale but triumphant. Merrick Tan stood on the bridge, hands gripping the railing, staring at the distant lights of the galaxy. For a moment, the enormity of what they had survived sank in. Humanity, tiny and fragile, had struck a blow against gods of war, and lived. "Damage reports?" Merrick asked, his voice steady but heavy. "Minor structural breaches, mostly superficial," Rian said, relief lacing his tone. "Engines are fine, but shield generators are at 60%. Nothing we can't fix." Lyra's voice trembled, still awe-filled. "The flagship's neural hive, it's completely offline. The rest of the fleet is in disarray. We've changed the balance. For now." Marek's eyes narrowed. "For now. That's the key. The Zytherian are powerful, but they underestimate humans. They expect fear, obedience, yet we defied them at every turn." He looked at the crew, pride burning in his chest. Each of them had faced impossible odds, made split-second decisions, risked their lives, and survived. They had done what no one else could. A soft chime interrupted the quiet. Merrick turned to the console. The anomaly's signal appeared again, faint but unmistakable, a shimmering pulse in the ship's sensors. Marek's chest tightened. They hadn't seen it emerge after the core strike. It had vanished, yet somehow remained present, watching. "Captain," Lyra whispered, eyes wide. "It's alive. It's communicating. Not in words but through patterns. It's thanking us, I think. Or warning us." Marek's lips pressed into a thin line. "Warning or guidance, we'll need to figure that out. Whatever it is, it saved us, and gave humanity a chance." The crew exchanged glances, exhaustion and relief mixing with awe. Even in the silence of victory, questions burned. What was the anomaly? How had it known the weaknesses of the hive? And why choose humans to intervene in a galaxy-wide conflict? "Set a course for repair orbit," Marek ordered. "We regroup, assess and prepare. Humanity isn't finished here. If the Zytherian are smart, they'll learn not to underestimate us again." As the Resolute moved, Marek allowed himself a rare moment to breathe. He thought of the worlds the Zytherian had conquered, the countless lives they had extinguished, and the tiny human ship that had stood against them. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and unyielding determination. These were human strengths no amount of technology or firepower could suppress. Suddenly a signal broke the calm. It wasn't Zytherian. Not entirely. It was a pattern of energy pulsing in a way that Marek instinctively recognized. The anomaly. The message was simple, almost imperceptible. "This is only the beginning. Greater challenges await. Prepare." Marek swallowed hard. His heart pounded, not from fear but from the knowledge that humanity had survived the first trial and would be tested again. "Crew," he said, voice steady, "listen to me. What we've done is more than survival. We've shown that humans, even alone, can challenge gods of war. That defiance, courage, and cleverness are our greatest weapons. And we'll need all of them in the battles to come." The crew nodded. Exhaustion weighed on them, but their eyes burned with pride. They were humans, small and fragile against the galaxy, yet unstoppable when driven by courage and intelligence. Marek felt a quiet smile tug at his lips. Humanity had shined, against all odds. From the bridge viewport, the distant stars stretched infinitely. Beyond the shattered fleet, Marek could sense something ancient stirring. Something bigger than the Zytherian, older than the galaxy itself. The anomaly's pulse had hinted at it, a silent whisper across space. Marek didn't understand it yet, but he would. Humanity had survived a trial that would have destroyed any other species. And they would survive whatever came next. "Set long-range sensors," Marek ordered. "We need answers. We need to understand what's out there. And we'll be ready for it." Rian glanced at him, curiosity sparking. "Do you think the anomaly will return?" Marek's eyes flicked to the fading pulse in the sensors, a shimmer that hinted at intelligence, purpose, and mystery. "I don't know. But I do know one thing, whatever it is, it chose humans for a reason. And we won't waste that trust." Lyra added quietly, "It's inspiring, Captain. Knowing we aren't alone, that something greater acknowledges us. Humanity," she paused, eyes bright. "We're capable of anything." Marek nodded, a surge of pride and resolve filling him. "Yes, we are. And we'll prove it again and again. No matter the odds, no matter the darkness. Humanity stands." The Resolute powered up, engines glowing, shields stabilizing, and set a new course into the unknown. Behind them, the Zytherian fleet lay in disarray, a testament to human ingenuity and courage. Ahead, the stars stretched endlessly, holding mysteries, dangers, and challenges greater than any they had faced. And somewhere in the void, the anomaly waited, pulsing faintly. Marek didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear. Humanity had survived the impossible, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The stars ahead shimmered with silent promise, hinting at trials that would test not just strength, but ingenuity, morality, and courage. Marek clenched his fists, ready. Humanity had won today, but the adventure, the challenge, and the legacy had only just begun. And somewhere, far beyond, something watches, ancient and patient, waiting for the humans who dared to defy gods of war.